Alright guys, impromptu video. This morning, my first period and we were talking about quiz 7, and there's a problem in quiz 7, the very first question here, and it was causing people issues. And I didn't do a good job at all of explaining. And on the way to Starbucks with my wife in the car is when I figured it out. And that's frustrating to me because I would rather figure it out while you're all looking at me, and then you will have confidence that I know what I'm doing. So let's talk about the nature of what does it mean to accelerate? Acceleration is just changing your velocity per unit time. That's all it means. So speeding up or slowing down are both examples of acceleration. Acceleration can be negative or positive depending on whether you're speeding up or you're slowing down. And it is a vector. It is a directional thing. So let's look at quiz 7 here. First question, a car is moving in the positive direction with positive acceleration. Okay, so what's the positive direction? Well, I would call that going to the right. Here's my car. It looks like a shoe. Don't judge me. Here's the stoplight. Okay, so let's say going to the right is positive. So the car is moving in a positive direction. What does positive acceleration mean? I can't talk. I need coffee. Positive acceleration means that your final speed is greater than your initial. So this person is speeding up maybe. Maybe the light turns yellow. You know, there are two types of people in this world. The type of people that see the yellow light and speed up, and the type of people that see the yellow light and slow down. So this is the yellow light appears and they speed up. So they have some initial speed that is not as big and some final speed, right? And so you will get a positive number because this final thing is going to be bigger than this initial thing. That's what it means to hit the gas. Now, here's what I forgot. Velocity is a vector. So if my final speed of my car, let's say, is 70 miles an hour, we'll just use miles per hour because everyone understands, right? So that would be my final speed. Let's say that when you saw the yellow light appear, your initial speed was 40 miles per hour. Okay. You will get a positive number, right? Now, both of these numbers here, this is a positive final speed, and this is a positive initial speed. Both speeds, both velocities, right, are going to the right, and then you subtract them. That's where the little minus sign comes from. So I should get a positive answer. So for this first question, the car is moving to the right, and the acceleration is positive. Yes, that's speeding up. Let's look at the second one. A car is moving in a positive direction with negative acceleration. So what's going to happen here? Okay, so negative acceleration, so it's still moving in the positive direction. What's happening here is the light is now turned red. You ain't gonna make it. You can run the red light, but you're risking killing people or insurance and money and all those things. And so the light turns red, you were going to hit the brake. What does that mean? What does it mean to hit the brake? It means when you hit the brake, what does your car do? Well, it's still moving to the right. You're still approaching the light. But when you hit the brake, there is now a force on you that is exerted in the opposite way. That is your braking force. That's what your brakes do. They clamp down. It's like a couple pieces of metal, and they just clamp together. But the force is in the other way. And force is equal to mass times acceleration. So if I have a negative force, in other words, it's going to the left, then my A is going to be negative, which means this A will be negative. So what does that really mean, though? That means that my final speed will be less than my initial, right? So maybe you were driving at, let's say, that's 70 miles per hour. You were going to make the light, right? You were going to make it, and it turns red, and you're not. So that's my initial. My final speed, if I'm going to stop, is 0. So what do I get? I get a negative answer, right? Makes sense because the force is to the left. My acceleration will be to the left. I get a negative number, and we will be slowing down. So for this second one, the car is slowing down. Got it. Those two made sense. Now this third one here is when all hell broke loose. I actually rewrote it in my first period because I just thought it wasn't written well. No, the problem wasn't with the question. The problem was with me. Here's how it was phrased. It was a car is moving in the negative direction with positive acceleration. That's how it was phrased. A car is moving in the negative direction with positive acceleration. In fact, I'll rewrite it here. Alright, so this is the way it was phrased. A car is moving in the negative direction with positive acceleration. What does this mean? Well, now it's moving to the left. That's the negative direction. Maybe they're... I don't know what happened. They put the car in reverse. It's going to the left. It has a positive acceleration. Okay. So what does this mean? Well, on the key here, it says if the car is moving in the negative direction with positive acceleration, it's going to be slowing down. We can look at this a couple different ways, right? If we're moving to the left, but our acceleration is positive, that means that's to the right. Well, that would mean that we would have a force acting on us to the right. Remember, F equals m times a. So that's in the positive direction, positive force, positive a. There you go. Now what about the math? Whoops. What about the math here? What about this? What's moving in the negative direction, right? So what I forget is that velocity is a vector. If we're moving in the negative direction, then our velocities are going to be negative. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Now, positive acceleration means we're going to get a positive number. We're going to get a positive a. And so, this is probably, well, this is my fault because I tell people that, well, negative a means that your final is less than your initial. But these are directional. V is a vector. So for this third one here, if the car is moving in the negative direction, then our velocities are in the negative direction. So our velocities are negative. So I had to say to myself, okay, my velocity is going to be negative. How do I get a positive answer? The only way, if I have two velocities that are negative, because that's the way I'm going, and the only way to get a positive answer is to have my final velocity be less than my initial when I subtract them. So I made my final speed negative 30. I made my initial speed negative 50. And I subtracted the two. So when you do this math, you get positive 20. Which is positive acceleration. But in this case, it means slowing down. And the reason is because you're moving in the negative direction to begin with, which means you're going to the left. Your velocities are all going to be negative because these are directional quantities. These have a direction attached to them. So there's really nothing wrong with this question. You're moving in the negative direction. With a positive acceleration, you're slowing down. You're moving to the left, but your force and your A are to the right, you're going to slow down. You're putting the brakes on. That's what's happening. All right, last one. Last one says the car is moving in the negative direction and it has negative acceleration. So that was the original phrasing. Car is moving in the negative direction with negative acceleration, which means it's moving to the left in the negative direction. Has negative acceleration, which means our force is to the left. So our force is negative, which means our A is going to be negative. Right? They're both going the same way. It's like you want the car to go to the left, and you're going to push it to the left. So it's going to go to the left. That means it's going to speed up. The answer is speeding up. Let's try to make the math work here. So how do we plug this in? Well, we're supposed to get a negative acceleration. And it's supposed to mean speeding up. So how is this possible? Well, we're going in the negative direction, which means our velocities are negative. The only way to get a negative number for A, to get a negative acceleration, is to have your final speed bigger than your initial. So I made my final speed negative 50. I made my initial speed negative 30. And you take negative 50, which is your VF, and subtract negative 30, which is your VI, you get negative 20. So you get a negative acceleration. But that just means you're going to the left. Your speeds are increasing to the left. So there's nothing wrong with that. So what I have to do is now go back in here. And I'm going to just put this back the way it was because there was nothing wrong with it. I don't know if you guys are used to hearing teachers say, oh, I was wrong about this. I messed up. A lot of teachers won't do it. They're not comfortable. I mess up all the time, and I have to apologize, and I'm man enough to say I screwed this up, or I didn't do a good job of this, or what have you. So, I'm okay with doing that. So I hope this makes sense. Okay. Thanks for watching.